Imagine you are standing in the darkness. The air is cold, damp, and thick with the smell of sweat mixed with fear. Your heart pounds heavily against your ribs. Beyond the thick stone wall, you hear a roar. It's not thunder. It's the clamor of tens of thousands of people. They are screaming for blood. You are in a narrow room called the carcer, or the waiting room. In just a moment, a wooden door will spring open. Blinding light will rush in. And those could very well be the final moments of your life. Welcome to Rome. Welcome to the Colosseum. We often see this structure on postcards and in Hollywood films like Gladiator. But the silent ruins today cannot tell the whole story. Archaeologists have recently uncovered new clues, tunnels buried for over 1,000 years, complex machine systems, and the darkest secrets lying deep underground. The Colosseum was not just an arena, it was a machine designed to glorify the greatness of the Roman Empire. But simultaneously, it was a precise mirror reflecting exactly why the most powerful empire in history ultimately collapsed. How could a structure built of concrete and stone determine the fate of millions? And why are the events that took place here 2,000 years ago so chillingly similar to our modern society? Join me as we descend underground to find the answer. Let's rewind to 72 AD. Rome had just emerged from a period of turmoil. The tyrant Emperor Nero was dead. A new dynasty took the throne, the Flavian dynasty, led by Emperor Vespasian. He needed a way to win the people's favor. He needed a gift, and there was no better gift than bread and circuses. Vespasian and his son Titus commissioned the construction of something unprecedented, a colossal amphitheater right in the heart of Rome. The craziest thing was their speed. Think about public works in modern America, sometimes taking a decade just to repair a stretch of highway. The Romans built this monster, 160 feet high, the height of a 12-story building, 620 feet long, in less than 10 years. How did they do it? It was a combination of iron discipline and Roman concrete. They dug a circular foundation up to 40 feet thick. They used thousands of slaves, but the brains behind it were engineering geniuses. But what made the Colosseum a wonder was not its appearance. It was what lay beneath the arena floor. Recently, archaeologists like Valerie Higgins have descended into the Hypogeum, the arena's basement. This was the backstage of the ancient world. Imagine it's like the backstage of a Broadway theater, but 1,000 times more dangerous. Here, they found traces of 28 elevators. That's right, elevators. They had no electricity, no modern hydraulics, but they had manpower. 8 burly men would push a massive rotating axle called a capstan. As they pushed, ropes tightened, the pulley system engaged, and a cage filled with a lion, a bear, or a leopard would slowly be raised. When the cage reached the floor level, a trap door sprang open. The beast lunged out. To the audience in the stands, it seemed like magic. The animal appeared out of nowhere. That element of surprise drove the crowd wild. The Romans didn't just build a building, they engineered an illusion machine. But if you think raising a 200-kg lion to the surface was impressive, wait until you hear what they did with water. Let's pause for a moment. We are often overwhelmed by the scale. A capacity of over 50,000 people. Imagine Yankee Stadium or Dodger Stadium completely packed. But here, the noise was not like a baseball game. Here, the stench of death lingered in every stone. For this entertainment, hundreds of thousands of animals were captured from North Africa and the Middle East and brought here. Elephants, rhinos, giraffes. The Roman Empire wanted to prove they controlled not only people, but Mother Nature itself. And the pinnacle of controlling nature was how they brought the entire ocean into the city center. Before we dive deep into the dark tunnels where the beasts were kept, you need to know a secret that few realize, a secret that has been literally buried at the bottom of history. This was the brief period right after the Colosseum was inaugurated in 80 AD. At that time, the complex underground maze you see today did not yet exist. Instead, the Colosseum performed an act of magic that would make even modern NASA or US military engineers bow in respect. It was the Naumachiae, or mock naval battles. Close your eyes and imagine you are there. It's a blazing hot Mediterranean summer afternoon. You're squeezed onto a hot stone bench with 50,000 others. The air is thick with sweat, food, and excitement. Suddenly, a trumpet blast echoes. Beneath the arena floor, hundreds of slaves begin dismantling the wooden panels. The sand-filled surface disappears. Stone props and trees are dragged away. And then, a rumbling sound, like thunder, resonates from deep underground. Not the sound of lions. It is the sound of water. From a giant underground sewage system connected directly to Rome's famous aqueducts, water begins to gush into the arena basin. Not a few buckets of water. We are talking about millions of gallons of water. Imagine filling an Olympic swimming pool, but at the speed of a flash flood. Within a few hours, about the time it takes you to eat lunch and chat, the arena floor has transformed into a deep lake, enough to submerge an adult man. The audience holds its breath. But the craziest part is yet to come. From the large gates at both ends of the arena, actual warships begin to float in. I'm not talking about small toy models floating in a bathtub. These were real fighting ships, perhaps biremes, two-tiered rowboats with bronze-tipped prows. On board were not actors. They were prisoners of war, criminals sentenced to death. They were dressed as Greeks, as Persians. They were given real weapons, and the command for them was simple: fight or drown. Right in the heart of arid Rome, a historical sea battle was reenacted. The sound of splintering wood as the ships rammed each other. The sound of arrows slicing through the wind. Fire! And more horrifyingly, the screams of those who fell into the water, desperately trying to swim with heavy armor on. The water in the arena slowly changes color, from turquoise blue to the deep red of blood. Bodies float right below the emperor's seating area, bobbing with every artificial wave. It was a spectacle both magnificent and unbelievably brutal. But the illusion didn't end there. As the last victor stood unsteady, the emperor gave the signal. Once again, Roman engineering spoke. Their drainage system was so ingenious that by simply opening 4 massive discharge gates connected to the city's great sewer system, Cloaca Maxima, the entire pool of blood was sucked away. As quickly as it appeared, the water vanished. The wooden floor was reinstalled, new sand was scattered, and the arena was ready for the next gladiatorial match. Why did they do this? Why spend such enormous effort just for an afternoon of entertainment? It was a naked display of power. Rome wanted to send a loud and clear message to the whole world. We conquer not only nations, we conquer nature itself. We can move mountains and fill seas. Nothing is impossible for Rome. But the control of water, however great, was only the prelude. The most terrifying, most sophisticated control of the Colosseum was not in the hydraulics, but in how it manipulated the human mind. Now, let's take our eyes off the bloody arena floor for a moment and look up at the stands. Look at the screaming crowd. Have you ever wondered why an ancient structure looks so familiar? The answer may surprise you. The Colosseum is the ancestor of every modern stadium we visit today. Think about the last time you held a ticket to an NFL game or a Major League Baseball game. You look at the ticket. Gate 5, Section B, Row G, Seat 12. You follow the signs, find the correct entrance, and sit in your exact seat. Very orderly, very civilized. The Romans invented that exact system. 76 of the 80 arches on the ground floor were numbered with Roman numerals. Numbers you can still faintly see on the stone today. Spectators would carry a small piece of pottery called a tesserae, which served as their ticket. It directed them to their assigned location. But don't let that order deceive you. Behind that facade of civilization and discipline was a brutally chilling system of class segregation. By today's ethical standards, the architecture of the Colosseum is the stone embodiment of prejudice and inequality. The Colosseum was not just a place to watch. It was designed to remind you who you were and where you stood in this society. Imagine this architecture as a multi-layered cake, but the sweetness is only for those at the very top. On the lowest tier, closest to the arena floor, where you could smell the blood and clearly see every drop of sweat on the gladiator's brow, were the cool marble seats. That was the place for the senators, the ultra-rich, the elites who held ultimate power. They sat there, safe and arrogant. Immediately above them was the equestrian class, the businessmen, the military generals. The seats were still good, the view still clear. The higher you went, the steeper the stairs, the narrower and darker the passageways. The third tier was for ordinary Roman citizens. They were crammed together, but at least they were still considered citizens. And then we come to the very top tier, the attic level. The highest, furthest, hottest spot under the scorching Roman sun, and often standing room only, no seats. Who do you think was relegated up there? Slaves? The poor? Yes. But there was one more group that might shock you. Women. Imagine this. You could be the wife or daughter of a renowned general. You might wear silk and finest garments, adorned with pure gold jewelry. But in the mindset of Roman men, upon entering this public space, you were lumped in with the lowest of slaves. Roman men believed that women were intellectually deficient and needed to be controlled, pushed away from the center of power. They had to stand in the distant highest section, looking down at the tiny dots killing each other below. That was discrimination in the stands. What about beneath the sand? That is the story of ethnic hatred. The Romans had an extreme and arrogant view of the world. To them, only Rome was civilized. Everyone living outside the empire's borders was a barbarian, uncivilized, unevolved savages. The act of dragging prisoners of war from the forests of Germania, from the misty island of Britain, or from the North African desert to this arena was not merely for entertainment. It was a bloody political drama. When a dark-skinned gladiator from Numidia fought a blonde warrior from the Rhine, the Roman audience did not just see two men fighting. They saw Rome's domination over the world. They cheered when they saw these foreigners kill each other. The message the Colosseum sent was clear and cruel. This is the fate of those who dare to oppose Rome. You are merely tools for our amusement. This system was so ruthless that it brainwashed an entire civilization. It taught the Roman populace a toxic sense of superiority. It fostered a terrifying mob mentality, where the pain and death of the other became the ultimate pleasure of us. But history has proven that an empire built on such arrogance and division, no matter how powerful, cannot stop the rules of time. We have seen the structure's grandeur, the brutality of the class system. Now it is time to return to the arena floor, where everything became most naked and tragic. In just a few hours, the pool of blood has vanished. The water was swiftly drained, swallowing all evidence of the tragedy deep underground. Slaves worked frantically, reinstalling the massive wooden panels, covering them with a fresh layer of sand called harina, the source of the English word arena. This sand had a crucial task: to absorb the blood and hide any remaining stains. But no matter how clean the surface, the air was still thick with the smell of death. Now, the Colosseum was ready for the main event, the one tens of thousands had waited for, the gladiatorial combat. The roar of the crowd never ceased. They were hungry. They had feasted their eyes on the water and ship spectacle. But the soul of the Colosseum lay here. Hand-to-hand combat between man and man, without mercy. Imagine, all the noise suddenly subsides. It is a dramatic silence, only broken by the solemn, powerful blast of bronze trumpets. This is the parade. From one of the main gates, the gladiators march out. They are muscular, powerful men, yet marked by slavery. They walk in formation, their armor gleaming under the sun. Unlike the embellishments of Hollywood films, their attire was meticulously designed, based on the tribes or enemies Rome had conquered. Murmillo wore a large helmet with a fish fin crest, carrying a short Roman sword and a massive shield, slow but extremely solid in defense. Thraex, lighter armor, a wide-brimmed helmet, using the curved Sika sword, a weapon typical of the Thracian region, allowing them to attack around an opponent's shield. Retiarius wore almost no armor, only a shoulder guard, but was extremely quick, armed with a net and a trident. The diversity in armor and weaponry was not accidental. It was designed to create balanced, opposing matchups. Heavy armor against light armor, strength versus speed. They stepped before the emperor's balcony, where Vespasian or Titus sat. They raised their swords and shouted the famous salute: Ave, Imperator, morituri te salutant. Hail, Emperor, those who are about to die salute you. It was a tragic oath, an acknowledgement of fate. Everyone knew, of those standing here, perhaps only half would see the sunrise tomorrow. After the parade, the gladiators stepped back, beginning their final rituals. They checked their shoelaces, adjusted their armor, and most importantly, they stared at their opponent. Put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist of this tragedy, the gladiator. He is not a free Roman warrior. He is a slave, a prisoner of war, property. He has just walked out of the gate of life. This gate is merely an ironic lie because, for many, it only leads to a public death. Suddenly, he steps from the cold darkness into the blinding light. Immediately, he is submerged in a sea of sound. 50,000 people screaming, the roaring of the frenzied crowd, deafening cheers. The sound shakes the very ground beneath his feet, shattering all thought, leaving only the instinct for survival. He looks up. The colossal awning, called the Velarium, is catching the wind. 240 sailing poles operated by the most skilled sailors of the Roman Navy. It provides shade for the senators, the noblewomen, and the emperor sitting safely in their seats. But it provides no shade for him. The scorching sun only makes the arena floor hotter. His opponent is waiting. The greatest pain, perhaps, is not the coming death, but the realization that his opponent is a brother, a friend he trained and ate with in loneliness and fear at the Ludus Magnus, the gladiatorial school right across the street, connected to the arena by a secret tunnel. They made vows together, and now they must kill each other for amusement. The referee signals. The battle begins. There is no mercy. This is not a choreographed scene like in the movies. Everything is real. The blood is real. The sound of metal clashing is grating and heavy, repeating like a death rhythm. The crowd's shout erupts in unison when a fatal blow is struck. Hubet! Hawk Hubet! He is hit! He is hit! When a gladiator falls, all movement stops. The crowd now becomes the Supreme Court. He looks up. He looks at the faces in the front row. He looks at the emperor, who is enjoying the spectacle. If he fought bravely, if he displayed the quality of virtus, courage that the Romans revered, the crowd might be merciful. They might shout, "Mitte," send him away, release him. But if he showed cowardice, or simply if the crowd craved blood, the emotions of tens of thousands merge into a single gesture. The thumb pointed down or toward the chest, depending on interpretation. Jugula, slit his throat. And when the command is given, there is no turning back. Death comes quickly. The blade ends the pain, but not the humiliation. His body is not carried out respectfully. He is roughly dragged away through an entirely different gate. The Gate of Death, Porta Libitinensis, on the west side. It is the exit for lifeless things. There, they strip off all the state's armor and equipment. If breath still lingers, a blow to the head with a hammer ends everything. The winners? They return, washing off the blood of the vanquished at the nearby Metasudan's fountain as if it were just a common stain. This was the pinnacle of Roman glory. Unbelievably brutal, horrifically bloody. But it was what attracted and captivated millions. But do you know? This rabid obsession with violence, this contempt for human life, was not a sign of greatness. It was the first crack, the harbinger of the collapse of an empire. After all the brutality, after the climax of blood and glory, our final question is, what ended it all? How did something so deeply ingrained in Roman culture simply disappear? The answer is found not just in Rome, but in a small, quiet town 130 miles north, Volterra. Here, archaeologists excavated a buried mini Colosseum, and they found a heartbreaking yet meaningful clue. A small window, originally designed for light to enter, had been crudely and poorly sealed with rough stones. This act of sealing was not a repair. It was a message. It was a clear sign that the owner had decided to permanently end the arena's function. The timing of this event coincides with the 4th and 5th centuries AD, when the Roman Empire began to fracture. The economy collapsed. The barbarian tribes they once scorned began pouring across the borders, and Rome could no longer hold firm. But the real change came from within, the unstoppable rise of Christianity. In a world that prioritized mercy and love, the brutality of the gladiatorial games became unacceptable. In 404 AD, at the Colosseum itself, tragedy became the turning point. A monk named Telemachus bravely leapt down onto the arena floor, where a gladiatorial match was in progress, hoping to stop the violence. He was not listened to. The crowd, enraged by the interruption, stoned Telemachus to death. He became the arena's last martyr. This horrific event profoundly shook the Emperor Honorius, a Christian emperor. He realized that an empire could not continue to build its glory on blood and inhumanity. He ordered a permanent ban on gladiatorial combat throughout the empire. And so, the Colosseum, once the loudest and most vibrant place in the world, suddenly fell silent. Like the window in Volterra that was sealed, it began to die. It was abandoned, plundered. Earthquakes toppled a large section of the south walls. Throughout the Middle Ages, it ceased to be a monument and became a giant quarry. New Roman citizens, to build their churches and palaces, quarried the marble and broke off the precious iron clamps from the walls. The glory of old Rome was torn apart to build a new Rome, a Christian Rome. This should have been a sad ending. Disintegration, oblivion. But then, a miracle occurred. The Catholic Church intervened. They declared the Colosseum a holy place. It was no longer the gate of hell. It became a memorial to the martyrs who shed blood here. A majestic cross was erected right in the center of the arena floor, where the pool of blood once was. The Colosseum, built to glorify violence, ultimately became a symbol of sacrifice and salvation. Today, when we stand before these ruins, we don't just see a pile of ancient rubble. We see the entire journey of civilization, from extraordinary technical power to moral brutality, and finally, spiritual redemption. The Colosseum is the most magnificent monument, the greatest tombstone of the Roman Empire. It still stands as an eternal warning that greatness devoid of compassion, glory built upon oppression, will sooner or later turn to ashes and silence. It is the Roman Empire's greatest tombstone. Beautiful, magnificent, but also deeply tragic. The story of the Colosseum is a powerful reminder of the glory, but also the tragedy of human history. If you were profoundly shaken by the secrets of engineering and the brutality hidden beneath the soil of Rome today, then don't let the journey of discovery stop here. Let me know your thoughts on what happened on the ancient arena floor by leaving a comment below. And more importantly, if you are passionate about forgotten history, eye-opening archaeological discoveries, and mysteries demanding an answer, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell right now. Join us to continue unlocking the next great treasures of the ancient world. Goodbye, and see you on the next adventure.